Oh, look! A study shows what we already knew! Even the studies show it! You know how I knew it? Because men also prefer to play as relatively attractive characters. Okay? You're either going to have somebody like, I don't know, like Leon from Resident Evil. It's kind of the pretty boy with the emo cut over the eye almost. And you got super alphas like Kratos. Boy. Okay? Guys like to play as characters that are badass, look like they could kick ass, and look like they can get women. Okay? It's a fancy role you're porting yourself into. This is the majority of men. Okay? We like to just play as badass characters. See, you don't find, I forgot what that character's name is in Street Fighter, but he's fat. He came in 4, I believe. Rufus. Come on. Most men on the planet that play Street Fighter don't want to play as Rufus. We don't want that. You know what I'm saying? It's, what? Now, there are guys that are really good with him. I've seen the tournaments. But the majority want to play as the badass characters. Or even the hot female characters. I've heard a guy say, I think Endymion was talking about this. He said his friend said that he always picks women if he's playing one of those over-the-shoulder games, third person like Resident Evil. He said because if he's going to be playing with a character that he can see from behind for hours upon hours, he'd rather it be a woman he was looking at from behind. I was like, that's interesting. That's a different take. But a study now shows that, shocker, women like playing as attractive, sexy females. Who would have thought? Because every woman wants to be attractive and sexy. And when you're playing in these video games, you want her to be badass. You want her to be capable of taking care of herself. Just like the men. Okay? You want to be a guy that definitely looks like a hero. The ideal. You know what I'm saying? A new study titled Examining How Sex Appeal Cues and Strength Cues Influence Impressions of Female Video Game characters was recently published, which sought to examine how men and women reacted to sexualization in video games. The experiment was set up using custom characters in Soul Calibur 6, with multiple characters being created to represent sexualization and strength in varying degrees. In this case, 4 characters were made to represent high sexualization and high strength. Next, high sexualization and low strength. Low sexualization and high strength, and low sexualization and low strength. Unsurprisingly, while women stated that they disliked characters who were highly sexualized, women would choose to play them when given the opportunity. Meanwhile, male players chose female characters who looked strong. Yeah, I know you ain't talking about Abby, though. Talking about somebody like Chun-Li. When speaking with SciPost, researcher Teresa Lynch shared her thoughts on the premise of her experiment. Quote, sexism pervades gaming. For example, game content overwhelmingly features male characters to the exclusion of central female or gender minoritized characters. Games that do feature female or gender minoritized characters often unfavorably stereotype and objectify these groups. In online gaming experiences, men and boys target women, girls, and gender minoritized individuals with sexist and harassing communication. Good Lord. You can see they were going in slanted. You can tell by that they were going in highly slanted. She went on to express surprise at the results of her first experiment in a series of 2, where men and women were asked to offer their opinions on the aforementioned character archetypes. Women surprisingly expressed dislike but also preferred sexualized characters. You know what this makes me think of? Guys would not like highly sexualized male characters either. Let me give you an example of something that popped into my head because I was trying to go through my head and think of highly sexualized male characters that I've seen. And I couldn't really think of any. But let's look at the WWE. Now, the WWE fans know what I'm talking about here. When Big E first started really wrestling, before the New Day and all that stuff, people had a big problem with that singlet he was wearing. Like his butt cheeks was hanging out and everything. That singlet highly sexualized him. And it made us watch his wrestling matches like, y'all remember, it was like, yo, man, like I heard dudes talking on different podcasts and stuff, and they was like, yo, man, like dude's outfit, yo, what the, yo, why? You know what I'm saying? It's, oh, Gold Dust. Gold Dust made people very uncomfortable from the way that his tight bodysuit fit, the way he acted. He was highly sexualized, correct? That's you're in a wrestling game. You're not picking Gold Dust most of the time. You got what I'm saying? So it's the way in which it's done, because you could have somebody like Batista or The Rock or Stone Cold who all, you know, Triple H, they all wore around the same amount of clothing. But you wouldn't, it's arguable that they're sexualized. Yeah, they're half naked. But in the way that they do it, they're gladiator-like. They're not sexualized. And I don't even think Big E was going for that. We know they were going for that with Gold Dust. But it's all in how it's done. You know? So if a chick, you know, like if you look at even certain female wrestlers, like you could see someone like Eva Marie. She was more sexualized with how her outfit looked than, say, the Glamazon. You know what I'm saying? Beth Phoenix. 2 different looks. You got what I'm saying? Both wrestlers, but one's more sexualized than the other, you know? And you could even argue that Beth Phoenix is sexualized because of she has a tight bodysuit, but that's not what you get from Beth Phoenix. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, I probably had a point to all this, but I'm sure I expressed my point in talking out what I was talking about. So women and men are the same way. That's what my point was. It's like the over-sexualization of a character. We're not going to like either one of us over-sexualize the men or over-sexualize women. But if you see a character that women would say is sexy, like female gamers think Leon is hot. You got what I'm saying? Male gamers think that, what's her name? Ava? Is that her name? The Asian chick he's always running into? They think she's hot. You got what I'm saying? But they're not over sexualized. Why am I not talking correctly today? Anyway. Let me see here. So, quote, I wasn't surprised by the fact that the participants in our studies disliked the sexualized female characters. I think especially among younger generations who have grown up with this social media and intuitively understand how media perpetuates impossible beauty standards, there's increasing scrutiny and critique around sexual objectification. That said, I was surprised to see that in our first study, women still selected the most sexualized character when asked which character they would choose to play. It's important to remember that this character was also rated as the most feminine. So it is possible that the women were just selecting the character they most identified with. Yeah, well, every guy wants to be the masculine badass. Okay? Yes, I'm speaking generally, but most of us, all guys want respect. So, you want that male presence. You want to be able to handle your business and stand 10 toes down on your business and be able to handle any problem that would come your way. Okay? And the guy that looks like he can do it and maybe be pretty doing it, you're going to pick him. He's either going to be, because both alpha types are attractive to women, like Leon and Kratos. Leon's more pretty, Kratos is more gruff. There are women that would kill to date somebody like Kratos. Just the bald head, the beard, the deep, gravelly voice with the muscular body. There are women that love that. Although I do believe the Leon look is way more popular with women, I remember they were doing like surveys and stuff on bodies that women thought were, and like the Brad Pitt Fight Club body came up like, top. Like women like, he was muscular, but he was lean, he was cut, and he was good looking. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, a second experiment in the same study had men and women actually play the character instead of just observing. The result here was that women tended to identify the strong characters as more competent. Meanwhile, men appeared to be more open-minded and didn't significantly conflate a woman's physical stature with her competence. No, I mean, we definitely know how games go. I mean, you could have a dainty female character that totally kicks ass. In recent years, international agencies and governing bodies have become increasingly concerned about the representation of women in media. Most recently, the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, good Lord, that's a long name, has criticized Japan for its depictions of women hypothetically contributing to violence against women and young girls. Probably not. All right. So there you have it, folks. What we all knew, women like to play as sexy characters too. Who would have thought? 10 million subscribers.